All right, everybody. Here we go. We are going to talk about how to construct a major scale on the piano keyboard. And major scales are made up of whole steps and half steps. To understand the concept of the half step, have a look at the piano keyboard. And you see, oops, let's check this out. How about that? There you go. I'm going to every single note on the keyboard. Every single note on the piano keyboard is a half step. Every note. That's known as the chromatic scale. Chromatic scale is every key on the piano, all the black keys, all the white keys, and the distance between each one is a half step. And that means that this is a half step because there's no key in between. So these two white keys right next to each other, B and C, are a half step apart. These two keys are a half step apart. This C and this D flat, or C and C sharp, those are a half step apart. To listen to the chromatic scale, I got another keyboard here. It's kind of funky. Those are all half steps. Now, if you skip over a half step, if instead of going from C to C sharp and then to D, if I skip over that C sharp and go straight from C to D, that's called a whole step. Anytime you skip over any note of the chromatic scale, look at that. I'm skipping over this F and going straight from E to F sharp. That's a whole step. That's a whole step. A whole step is skipping over a chromatic step. Whole step. All right. If I played all whole steps, I'd get what's called a whole tone scale. Here's a whole tone scale on the piano. That's a whole step. That's a whole step. Whole step. Whole step. It's kind of weird. Makes your eyebrows go up, doesn't it? We need half steps in there for the scale to make sense to our ears. Diddly-dope, diddly-dope from Wayne's World. Whole tone scales are really cool for creating like lifting. You know, if you have something ethereal, a mist coming up. Whole tone scales are really cool for that. Okay, so we have the chromatic scale, half steps. We have the whole tone scale, which is all whole steps. And now a major scale is a combination of whole steps and half steps. And what I want you to remember is that the half steps are between 3 and 4 and 7 and 1. Look at this C major scale. C major scale is the best known scale. It's usually the first one we learn because it uses all the white keys. From C here to C here. And as I go through, you see it's a whole step from C to D, a whole step from D to E, a half step from E to F, then a whole step to G, whole step to A, whole step to B, and then a half step back to C. Let's listen to it on the piano. It's that combination of whole steps and half steps in that order that gives us the sound of the major scale. Let's do it in numbers. This is the first note of the scale. 1, 2, 3, and then a half step to 4. Whole step to 5, whole step to 6, whole step to 7, half step back to 1. 1, 2, 3, half step to 4, whole step to 5, whole step to 6, whole step to 7, half step back to 1. So, where are the half steps in a major scale? Between 3 and 4 and 7 and 1. Where are the half steps in a major scale? Between 3 and 4 and 7 and 1. Where are the half steps in a major scale? Between 3 and 4 and 7 and 1. And by the way, when we do scale degrees, That's what we're talking about, these positions. We put a little caret over the top of the numbers. You'll see that in the text. Okay, so let's make a major scale starting on a different note, but using that same pattern. I'm going to start with this F right here. We know it's a whole step from 1 to 2, F to G, whole step 2 to 3, G to A. Now a half step above from 3 to 4, above 3. So I wouldn't go here, that's a whole step. I'm going to go here to the B flat. That's a half step. 3 to 4 is a half step. Then a whole step from 4 to 5, that's there, B flat to C, whole step to D, whole step to E, and then half step back to 1, F. 1, 2, 3, half step to 4, 5, 6, 7, half step back to 1. Alrighty, so play around with that. You can start on any note on the piano and create a major scale, as long as you keep the order of the whole steps and half steps together. Whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. Or you can just remember half steps between 3 and 4 and 7 and 1. Alrighty, have fun.